everything is on social media this week.
Yeah.
Talking about the difference between people who come from ask culture
Right,
and
right,
guess
right.
culture, right? So if you come from ask culture, you're used to just, if you have a need or a want, you ask, you put it out there, and whatever happens, happens.
Right.
If you're from a guest culture, you're more into subtleties and vagaries and hoping that people pick up hints,
Right.
and waiting on people to do something that you would like them to do instead of making the ask.
Right.
So the example that was in there was this couple, they have a friend, and this friend basically invited herself to stay, like asked to stay with them for like 2 weeks
She
or
said,
something
"Can I
like
stay with
that
you for 2 weeks?" Wow.
during the
sounds happening.
pandemic
Right.
and stuff like that. And they don't really want her to stay with them because it's a pandemic,
Right.
and because they just want to.
But they felt bad about saying no.
Right. So they felt bad
because-
about saying no, and then they're thinking about what excuse can they make up? Can they say they got construction going on,
Right.
or something with the keys, or da 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 da, or whatever? And then someone explained in the comments, again, this is another Reddit post, that there's such a thing as people who come from ask culture, which would be the friend who's asking to stay over, and then guest culture. And usually people from guest culture would, I don't necessarily want to say take offense, but take offense to it because they feel it's rude.
Guest culture finds direct questioning
rude and offensive, because it's like, no, you're putting the pressure on this person to say no, and for them saying no is rude.
Right.
Or to some
really, it's all about, so guest culture is really about the avoidance of a no.
Right.
Like in of itself, like everything about it is they try to find ways to avoid no. They try to do everything they can to make sure that when they ask a question, it's going to be yes. So in that, they do that through conversations in their relationships, and like they try to read body language and read all the signs instead of getting to the point and saying what they want to say.
Right. And not expressing their needs, their wants.
And if they do get a no, then they'll be bothered by the no because they need an explanation.
Right.
But also I think what multiplies that is because they've done so much work to try to get a yes, they're like, how could you say no?
Right.
So it was really interesting to read this and then examine everyone in our lives. We're like, who falls into to ask culture? Who falls into guest culture?
So for me, I when I looked at it, I said to myself, I also think that ask culture and guest culture, I don't think everybody is necessarily one or the other.
Right.
I think there are situations and circumstances that can bring out the ask culture in you. And, for me, that was my experience being a caregiver. But I come from a guest culture.
Right.
Right. And I'm not speaking generally a Caribbean culture being guest culture. Just mean like,
it's more intimate, like your family dynamic,
right? Is basically guest culture. There are exceptions to that where we do have ask culture people in there. I know I definitely have people in my family who have no qualms about asking.
But y'all have problems with it. You'd be like, why would you say that?
Right. But it's very, like you said, it's very interesting when you start like looking at the relationships around you, or maybe past relationships that you've had that didn't work for one reason or another.
So it was really interesting to me because I come from a guest culture too, but I'm an ask person.
Right.
Like I can do all the things that guest culture people do. Like I'm good at reading subtleties. I can do all that stuff, but also I know that wastes time and it's not the best way to get to what we're trying to get to.
Right.
So I just ask stuff. I just say it like, all right, this is a lot of times, and you know this, in my family, I end up trying to interpret for people. I'm like, this is what they're trying to say. Yeah. And this is because people are not direct.
Yeah.
Like, just say it.
Yeah.
Just say the thing. I say that to you all the time. Just say it.
Yeah, because I know that I am a guest culture type of person typically. So, and in my relationships, I've been that. And I think what happens when you are, guest culture. Did I say guest culture? Yeah. So I think what happens, like you said, is that it's like you kind of put the relationship or whatever is like in this, especially if you're close to someone,
mm-hmm.
like you expect that people are going to kind of behave the way that you behave or look at things similarly to you.
Right.
As opposed to, if this is what you would just ask for it.
Right.
And I think a key thing also is that, like, there's layers to it as well, because if you're from ask culture, then you also have to, a facet of ask culture to me would then also be being able to accept the no.
Yeah.
Right? So like a true ask culture person would be like, I'm asking you this. If you say no, okay, fine.
Right.
I'm not losing anything by you saying no. I'm still in the same position.
Right.
And if you say yes, great. For a guest culture person, the no is hurtful.